So when I saw today's theme of breaking the glass ceiling, I, of course, called on my best friend Google, and I looked it up to see kind of what breaking the glass ceiling means, literally. And I came up with, it means overcoming the barriers that are set to prevent access to advancement. And it's, you know, obviously it's like kind of associated with men or male counterparts keeping us down or keeping us in one place. And that might mean in terms of salary or something like that. And I think that's traditionally what it means when we talk about women in the workplace. But I also think for me, for today, I wanted to talk about some of the things that keep me from moving forward, you know, potentially are my own sort of like ceilings, because I think the other part of the definition that Google told me was that breaking the glass ceiling also includes removing barriers for others that are experiencing the same struggle. And I think that's what this event is about today. It's about all of us getting in a room, sharing the things that we have in common, sharing the struggles that we all have, and seeing how we can help each other get through them, you know? So here's, I came up with 3 little stories that these are the things that like keep me awake at night, and maybe they keep you awake too. So here we go. All right, first barrier that I want to talk about is the fear of change. So as leaders, I think if we're unwilling to change how we lead, that we may just lose the ability to be an effective leader. So here's my little anecdote that goes with that one. I'm 54 years old, and I think that I'm a good leader. Like, I think I'm an effective leader, and I think I've come up with some tools that work for me, and they work for me in my world that I've created. I've got like these businesses, they're restaurants, and they're built on kind of like a transient workforce. They come, they go. People don't work in restaurants forever, typically. The workforce is young, and I have to build my business on the backs of these people who don't have a lot of experience. They can't communicate well. It might be their first job. They're gonna be gone in 6 months, whatever, you know? And I depend on them to make things work and make them work well. And I realized that I was sort of growing bitter with how little they cared, so to speak, about how to do the job. And I found myself being like, when I was young, you know, and then COVID came, and everybody disappeared. Like, the 19-year-olds disappeared and the 35-year-olds disappeared. And I had to start rebuilding everything from scratch. And I became more desperate and more angry that no one seemed to be willing to work as hard as I was. And what I realized was, quickly, I had better change what my message was and how I was trying to lead these people, because if I didn't, I was gonna be stuck doing everything, right? And so I started listening to what they wanted. And I mean, I was, you know, we had money with PPP, so I was throwing money at them. They still weren't coming to work. And what I realized was, Joy, you have to find out what their currency is. You need to figure out what matters to them. If they wake up in the morning and they say like, you know, I'm not feeling like going to work today. Like, I just don't feel like myself. And like, my mental health is just not there. I need a personal day. I'm like, dude, what? You know, like, you can have a personal day. But like, when I think about it, I'm like, well, I'd love to have a personal day. So what's wrong with them asking for a personal day? Like, they're doing what I wish I could do, so why not give them that? Because if I give them a personal Tuesday and then they come back and they could kill it for me over the weekend when I really need them, why not? And so I changed the way that I led them, and in response, they met me halfway. And I'm telling you, those little monsters that, you know, whose age started with 1 and 2 started to teach me what I needed to know about how this 54-year-old could lean on them in a way that made sense to them, and vice versa, and so it goes. So that was a little ceiling that I broke through, was my fear of changing, because I thought the only way to do it was to work hard, and there's different ways to work. So that's that. All right, so the next thing, the next kind of barrier or glass ceiling that I had to get through, or that I'm working through right now, is the imposter syndrome. And that is that thing, according to Google, where you kind of question everything that you are, everything that you've achieved, every step along the way, and you ask yourself if it's really happening, if you deserve it, if it's all gonna go away tomorrow. And what that does, or at least what it does for me, is it means I can never relax. I can never drink to that. I can never like raise a glass to myself, congratulate myself, or lean into what I've done. I'm always waiting for the next shoe to drop. I have this, for those of you who know my business partner, Beth Black, she's like I'm a turtle and she's the hare. She's like me times 10,000. She's so smart, so funny, so kind, so driven, so energetic, so tireless, so amazingly everything. She's awesome. And I'm like trying to keep up with her. And it made everything I did seem less than, so while I am so grateful for her partnership, I found myself like, shit, man, I literally can't keep up with this shit. If there were 8 days in a week, she'd be like, on the 8th day. I also happen to be like 6 years older, and so I'd be like, dude, you wait till you're 54, It didn't matter. She's just tireless, and so I benefit from that energy and from that never wanting to say no to any project. But on the other hand, it made me feel like I was never enough. It was never enough. And finally, maybe for those of us in the room that are over 50, you start to give zero blankety blanks. and you're just you sort of go okay, it is enough. Or I recognize that I'm gonna go to bed with emails that are unanswered, phone calls that are unanswered, still things on my to-do list. And it's okay, because what I did today was I did as much as I possibly could. And so you just break through that thing where you're not enough or where your accomplishments didn't measure up. That's okay. And then the last or most recent glass ceiling to get in my way, and I do feel like this one is sort of uniquely female, is the endless sacrifice of balance. Hang on one second. Okay, so the endless sacrifice of balance. I have 6 siblings in my family. My parents are very busy. 3 boys, 3 girls. We are all super close to each other. We consider each other siblings, obviously, but friends. We're friends, and we're scattered all over the place. Now we've gotten to the point where both of our parents, I think as of about 6 years ago, both of our parents have passed, and so we're really very heavily on each other. Some of us are married, some are not. Some have kids, some do not. But we are all really close. And what I realize as I talk to my sisters, mostly about my brothers, is this. And I'm on the. I have a younger brother. And then I'm next, right? And then everybody else is older. And what I realize is that my sisters who are older, I watched their lives go from this thing where they're married, and then they had kids, and then they're taking care of their husbands and their homes, and then they sort of took care of our aging parents, and then their kids have kids, and now they're taking care of their grandkids, and it's not that they did it instead of having careers outside the home. They did it in addition to having careers outside the home, right? So they're doing all that stuff. And the husbands are like, my brother's got a shed where he builds furniture, and my other brother has this incredible drone collection where he's I don't know how he found time. It's 377 hours to become a master drone artist. I'm like, how do you do that, And just doing all these amazing sort of self-personal things, while my sisters are just, the imbalance is really apparent. And every time another thing comes up to set the scales this way, I I notice what they do is they take something away from themselves to lend to the other side. And I think that is another thing that we put in our way to keep us from moving forward, to keep us from being able to achieve more like in here. And so that's my constant goal. That's my ceiling to break for myself, is to give myself permission to get my brows waxed and, you know, just like shoe shop online and do the things that I need to do to assign more balance to myself. Take my own personal day, like my 20-year-olds do, to lend myself a little bit of balance. So those are my glass ceilings.